Okay, we're back in the regular session now. Thank you. And moving on to our, my throat, anyway, moving on to our agenda here, we're at board directors' reports. Anyone have anything? Well, I do. Surprise! So yesterday, we had the pleasure of touring Dixie School for the board members, and I encourage, when you can, go see what is going on in those buildings, see the staff, they're exchanging with the students. It's wonderful. We've got a really good group of people, and it gives you a better understanding. So when they talk about Dixie School or the special needs, or we look at our budget and stuff, you have a better understanding of what is actually happening in those classrooms. And anyway, we've had a great group out there. It was a very enjoyable afternoon.
Thank you. And if I may, can I add, Jean? Yeah. One thing that I will add, Jean had an excellent idea of creating more of an onboarding process for new board members, of doing visits and going out to different sites and everything. And so with new board members in the future, we're going to put something together like that. I think that's a great idea, people to have that context.
We're going to try to have another visit Dixie. I would like to come.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll put another one together.
Fantastic, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And then in the spring, we're about to look at doing the farm home. On the smaller
Yeah.
scale.
It's already on the calendar, it's in March.
So will you say what date that is, and we'll make sure that gets put on your dates in here too.
You said March 30, hon?
She's going to pull up the exact date.
Yeah, there's been I know some of you use the Google calendars and some of you don't, but March 14th. Okay.
Thank you. Anyway, I understand that because it's a different private organization that runs that, but I still think it'd be nice to see.
Yeah, it'll be, yep, he will, it'll be good, and we, yeah, they just want us to do it after students are not there, so it'll be a little, yeah, that's a non-student day, so it's a little different, but yeah.
All right, thank you. Yes. Okay, moving on to the fun part of our agenda. Not to exclude you, Rocco, I'm sorry.
I think the audit report's pretty cool, so.
So we're on to policies.
We do, and actually it's going to be very quick here, because if you recall, and there's at your places, but everybody received the forwarded email that is sent out. Christina worked so hard in preparing all of these policies and getting everything ready, and then OSBA sent out an email and said, well, actually there was just a court decision that negates doing this work right now, just hold tight, leave them alone. So we're only going to do policy in this list, the first one,
So,
policy AC, right?
we may not do that as well.
Okay.
I looked into it a little
Did you?
deeper.
Okay.
There's some references in it that reference the rest.
So then,
So that might be one that we should hold as well, even though it was not part of their
Yeah.
list. Okay.
okay, well, I made it simple, thank you.
Yeah, let's just leave them as they are.
Okay. There we go. That is the fastest policy thing you'll ever,
There's two references in it that
Okay.
reference the new stuff, and I was like,
Perfect. I'm glad you noticed that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we could have been back redoing.
right.
Since, I see here in the email that Oregon law is different than federal law here, where, Oregon has prohibited discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity for several years, so our policies already already reflect that.
Yeah, so our current policies already reflect Oregon law, and Oregon law is actually more stringent than the federal law. And so by us doing nothing, it just stays at status quo.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you, Christina. All right, now we'll just move on. Oh, why don't we do your report?
Right.
Okay.
So we are ready to move the 2025, 26, and then the 26, 27 work calendars. for board approval. We have a committee that we pull together, every 2 years when we go through this. And, we met with them back in December, it's been a while. They had all the calendars, and they represent all the different kind of groups, because our calendars are based on number of contract days. So we have someone from each of those calendars kind of part of that group, because they understand the nuances of their own work calendar, and they can help us make sure that what we've set up for them is actually gonna work. And they also help us catch, there's a lot of counting and numbers and making sure that all the little details of it are correct. And so that ran through our committee, and everybody was good with it. And so both of these sets of calendars are before you for approval at this point. And if you have questions, I can answer them. Straightforward.
Gentlemen, did you have any questions about the work calendars for 2025, 2026? I think that's
Looks like a pretty standard.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the one that isn't there is the long-term care and treatment calendar, because we have to wait for Corvallis to get theirs approved so that we can pick up with them. So we'll get that one later.
We'll get that one, and then, our early intervention programs have a specialized calendar that they do as well. So we wanted to set these first, and then they will work off of these to do their specific calendars. Those will come later.
If there are more questions, I ask for a motion.
I
to
move-
approve the
Go ahead.
2025, 2026, and 2026, 2027 work calendars.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2025, 2026, and 2026, 2027 work calendar. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
I finally got it. Okay. Roscoe.
Okay.
Now we're at the exciting part.
Before we get into the giant audit report, let's make sure we go through what's going on for the month here. So we're gonna take a look at what happened in December, which was quite a little bit of activity. Let's go to page 108 and take a look at what happened with revenues on here. So we took in nearly $6.5 million in revenues in December. That came in a couple of sources. So notably, we collected an additional $1.1 million of tax revenue. So we now, at this point on here, we're a little north of 90% collected on our tax base. The rest of it trickles in through the end of the year, with probably the largest remaining payment coming in June, as we kind of hold on and find out what that final payment is going to be. We have a smattering of revenue coming in on the special revenue side, on the state and federal. That's us claiming some small grant, but then we have that really big $3.4 million of Medicaid. So what that Medicaid is, so we do the Medicaid administrative claims for our component districts. And so at some point in time, once we submit those, we get all of that money back, and we claim that as revenue, and then we turn around and we send it out. So what's important about this, if you remember back a couple of months ago, we had a really big expenditure, which was us pushing money out the door. That's us paying the 50% match that has to go to Medicaid before they send us the money. This $3.4 million repays what we send out. We collect our administrative fees off of this, and we send the rest of it out to our districts. So a lot of activity going on in revenues there.
May I ask you a quick, just
Oh my goodness, you can ask me anything about the financials.
silly me? So Medicaid, what is that, and how is it that ESD handles it?
I'm gonna pass that one on to the experts.
Who wants to take it, Christina, or?
So that's under the Strategic Partnerships Program, and so, the Medicaid Administrative Claims is a survey that districts give 3 times a year, where it's a randomly picked day that all of their staff that participate in it complete the survey of whether they have provided any kind of Medicaid-based services. So connecting families with health services, it can happen in IEP meetings sometimes, information is shared with families to get them more connected with health resources and things like that. So there's it's a very long list of options that people can choose from. But we have someone on staff that does the technical assistance for our districts with that and provides support. And then there's a person in each district that runs that survey. And we're just kind of a coaching support. But it's a very, a lot of districts use these funds to pay for, so like I'll use Albany as an example. Their FACT team, their family services team, primarily is funded through their MAC funds that they receive. So
I think sometimes when you see Medicaid, you think of medical.
yes, and
Yeah, but I mean,
loosely related to that.
medical is for, doctors or whatever is
Right.
that. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And this version is, like Christina says, is loosely related to that. There is another aspect of Medicaid billing that we do, and that is more of the fee-for-service side of things. And that's when we have certain medical providers that are writing down their hours of service, and then we can get reimbursed for that. And so, like, for example, a speech-language pathologist can get reimbursed Medicaid dollars. It's quite arduous, and a lot of districts don't do it and don't ask us to do it. And honestly, we don't really want to do it in some cases, because if you have a speech pathologist, for example, that has a very high caseload, and then we're asking them to do a bunch of paperwork on top of that, it can be really a burden to them. But, for example, our EIECSE program is bringing in, what is, I don't know,
75,000 a year, yeah.
75 a year, so 100, yeah, I was gonna say like $150,000 a biennium, in, you know, by using some of their people to bill a different type of Medicaid.
This is the easier of the.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so let's scroll down and let's take a look at what's going on in expenses. So on page 109, we had total expenditures of about 5.5 million, which we know is a high number for us on there. So first off, let's look at that operating expense number. That's what we're normally going to spend. That's that 3.4 million that we're always expecting to come in. The rest of it is transits. So you'll see $650,000 going out of the general fund. So we pay $1.3 million of our Tier 1 out to our district each year for severe disabilities funding. So that is one of those payments going out. We pay it out in 2 chunks. And then in the special revenue, you'll see that $1.4 million transit going out. That's us turning around and taking that Medicaid money that came in and pushing it out to the districts. So those transits, right, money in, money out is what's going on, but our normal operating expenses are sitting at that 3.4. Let's go one more page. We should always be looking at our cash balance on there. So we are sitting at about $21.5 million currently. The number is high because we've just collected all of our tax revenue. So this is, you know, some of our high water marks for the year. Our notes payable are paid out. We won't pay our next payment until in May. And finally, on page 111, we'll take a look at our cash charts on there. You can see where our balance is sitting on the top graph, but probably more importantly, that bottom graph where our average balance is sitting, and you see that it's sort of stabilized out at that $18.8 million figure, and we would sort of expect it to keep hovering in that area unless something material changes with you.
Is that common? Nothing else, is that?
You would expect it. So where you would see differentials is when you're making large changes. So if we went out and we borrowed a bunch of money to have the building, we'll see the balance just spike up. And then as you're paying for the building, that's what you're seeing that decline on there. But you should see in any institution, particularly a public institution, it should sit around the same number on an average basis. If you see it drifting up or down, you're building funds or you're depleting funds, you better know why you're doing either one.
Let me ask you.
You asked me?
Yep.
Can I tell you honestly this
I know you.
Any questions on finances for the month? We're getting into budget for next year, which is an exciting time of the year for me, so we'll have that later on. But next order of business is to take a look at the audit. So can we let Chris in? If you thought my piece was dull.
I like how you quickly said that.
I don't think,
Yeah.
I don't think Chris would disagree with me.
Yeah.
Chris, are you there?
There we go. Got it all set up now. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Alrighty, so I'll just jump right in. I'm Chris Odell. I was the lead auditor for 2024. And I'm here tonight to present the results of the audit. So I will get right into it. So the purpose of the audit is to form an opinion on the fair presentation of basic financial statements and their compliance with accounting rules and auditing rules, as well as Oregon municipal audit law and some Oregon administrative rules. There was also a single audit performed where we looked at the ESD's compliance with federal, state, and other agency rules and regulations related to federal award expenditures. The audit was conducted using sampling of transactions on a test basis. We inquire staff and we do analytical procedures among other tests. Another part of the audit that we do is obtain an understanding of the ESD and its environment and its use of internal controls. So we do this in order to assess risks of material misstatements in the financial statements, and then to design the nature, timing, and the extent of our audit procedures. So in general, material misstatements may be a result of errors, fraudulent reporting, misappropriation of assets, or violations of laws. So we're kind of basically setting up our test to look at the biggest risks of those and do the test accordingly. As for the results of the audit, it was an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion with no reservations. For the state minimum standards, there was a small ding where there was an exception where budget appropriations were expenditures exceeded budget appropriations. And this was due to more of an accounting side GASB 96 transaction. So the expenditure side was also, there was also an offsetting revenue for that. So it didn't affect fund balance at all. And then there were no issues of non-compliance and no question costs for federal awards. There was no separate management letter issued, which means there weren't any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in controls that we would be required to disclose to the board. So yeah, I want to thank Sean and Rocco for all their hard work, and they're excellent to work with as always. New for Sean, but yeah, it was great working with them too. And yeah, we didn't have any difficulties performing the audit. So that's all I had for tonight. If anyone has any questions, I can answer what I can on those.
Oh, Chris, this is Jean,
May-
apparently not.
May I
Because
ask
we're
a
good to go.
question?
I'm
Jean.
sorry.
May I
Let me
ask
turn
a
my
question?
volume for a second.
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
All right, there we go.
I asked another auditor this opinion or his ideas of what is materiality.
So it's kind of a standard where we take a calculation based on prior years as far as the total amount of assets or revenue from prior year, and then based off a percentage, and there's a calculation based on that, and that's kind of materiality. And then there's also a qualitative part to it where it's kind of professional judgment as far as that goes.
So it's always a judgment call, essentially.
There's essentially, but there's also a calculation to kind of guide where you should be as far as a minimum.
But there's no number. Do you have a quantitative measure for materiality?
Yeah, there is a quantitative measure, and then you
And
can
what is-
lower it or increase it depending.
Oh, I thought materiality was just something that affected the decision maker. If it was important to the decision maker, then it's material.
Yes. So yeah, there's also some other quantitative part as well that goes into that. So it's kind of a combination.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to educate all of my fellow board members.
Yeah, absolutely.
Materiality is, if you read the opinion, well, of course, you know the opinion by heart. Uh, it's in all material aspects.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Yeah, are there any more questions for Chris? Hearing none, I appreciate you coming and sharing with us, giving the good report. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris,
Thanks
for
for
hanging
having me.
out there for the waiting room.
Yeah, that's okay. Alrighty, take care, everyone.
Take care. Yeah, he was waiting room for most of the meeting.
I gotta get new glasses.
Anyway, I didn't have a question for Chris, but I do have one for Rocco. So just on page 19, where it says, it was talking about appropriations, and was that when we had to switch those funds from the, it says,
Nope, what this is, so part of GASB 97, which is a provision as to how you are required to account for subscription software. It used to be, if you spent $100,000 on software, you recorded an expense for $100,000. There's now a standard that says, you need to tell us how long you have this for, and you need to account for it as if you issued it as debt. And so they reclassify an expenditure and put it down as a, is it an interest payment? Yes, will be a portion that goes into an interest payment. And so what happened was we appropriated as if it was an expenditure, but the final reporting put it under a different category of appropriations.
oh, okay.
And a lot of times what ends up happening is that when you're doing, you'll see there's a lot of, right, most of this report on there is for weird accounting nuances. Most times when you're doing those weird accounting nuances, you just do it on the paper when you do the report. This is one that's actually required for you to change the numbers on your books, and we weren't aware that it was going to be that way. So when we went to budget and appropriate, we had no idea that it was going to end up where it did. Like Chris said, it's basically a one in, one out sort of thing.
It's not like we were spending more money, it's just a different way of accounting for things that was required by law that we were unaware of.
It is, and it's, when you report it up to the state, something that we thought was supposed to be in the 2000 code ended up in the 5000 code.
Okay.
Doesn't it view software more as an asset now, like a
It
physical
does,
asset?
it's
Okay.
an asset, it's an asset liability, and so it is similar. Software is treated that way, and leases are also treated that way as well.
Okay.
If you have an operating lease with someone out there, you have to account for it as if you bought it and financed it.
Okay.
They are accounting provisions that are meant to address abuses by huge organizations. They're not really ever intended to be applied to a state-level organization that does about $50 million of stuff a year, but we're held to the same standards as everybody else.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's one of those things that now that we know that this is something that they're looking at, that you won't see it next year.
Right, we'll be
Exactly.
able to budget for it and know where it's gonna pop up, so when we go through budget on there, there's gonna be a weird category that I'm gonna call out for you on there that says, remember that accounting thing on there? We're gonna put a number here so we stay inside of it.
Yeah.
Bill Gaspy.
Everything else is pretty straightforward and unconcerning.
All right.
Rocco.
Yes, thank you, Rocco. Okay, so we're on to, we did that. So we're on to the superintendent office, we did that, and we're on to superintendent.
Okay, I just have a couple of things here for you. So looking at the strategic plan, and past, or the strategic plan document on page, this doesn't have a page number on it, it's like page 197, 198-ish. just gonna call out a couple things here, that I think are worth, you knowing about. If you take a look at, one of our task activities with EIECSE was about offering inclusive practices training workshops. And we are on track in a great way, for our EIECSE program, that they had 84 preschool program teams across our 3 counties in August, and they're continually doing training and coaching with our preschool providers, and having our special education staff that are experts in that area working with the staff. And so that's really cool to see. Another one, some kudos to Autumn Baloney and the EIECSE team in that one. The next one that I want to call out is our new website and intranet. This is one that Tim and his team have worked on, and there's been quite a lot of work that's gone into that. Devin Burleson as our web developer, Nathan Rousseau as our marketing person has worked on it. And I will say, unlike sometimes with me, anything that shows up in my performance thing, that I'm actually not doing very much work, and I'm just working with other people and overseeing and doing leadership. Tim did a tremendous amount of personal work on the website and insight, so he's got mad skills with the tech stuff, so that's pretty cool. So thank you, Tim. And then the last one is that I want to point out is on the next page, that I think is important if you hear from any of your constituents out in school districts, is that the EIECSE team is working with district staff. They've been meeting with them. They've sent out surveys to analyze and improve our kindergarten transition process. Pretty great work that they've done. In addition to what you see there, I do want to just give a special thank you to Nancy for her organization of our the last 5 months or so of our professional development as a leadership council. We've had our leaders all pick different things that they wanted to do in terms of improving their leadership and doing professional development. A lot of different people do different things, book studies and whatnot. One of the books that that Lisa and I are reading together, this is totally driven by Lisa. She and her colleagues in our executive assistants in our 12 districts came across this book, selected this book to do together, and then this is where her leadership is important, in that she can move the dial with all of them and encourage superintendents to do some learning. We really know who's in charge in all of these organizations, but like, hey, you should read this book with me about assistants, executive assistants. And so the name of the book is The Leader Assistant. It is quite good. I definitely recommend it. And so Lisa and I are about halfway through it, as are the other assistants. And we are encouraging our other executive assistants in our organization to start reading it and working on it later. So thank you to both of you and organization of doing all. And then finally, my final thank you is that it's Board Recognition Month. And I just want to say how much I appreciate. We've got some certificates for you. And let me stand up and grab those. And, how much I appreciate all of you and getting to work with all of you. I think that you are the unsung heroes of school districts and ESDs. You volunteer so many hours, and you keep us on track, you keep us honest, and provide the guidance that we need to do the really important work with staff and kids. And so just so many kudos to you. So thank you so much. And we've got some certificates here that just recognize years of service. So they're in no particular order here. I'll just take the first one. The glasses thing too. And it's really big, you know? But, thank you for 9 years of service, Mr. Roger Irvin. There we go. Excellent, yeah. Thank you. Michael Thompson, 1 year of service. There we go. All right. Thank you. Almost 1 year. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you know, that's right.
Right near.
We round up. Thank you. Amy Vedder, 4 years of service. Thank you so much. Yep. And I'll have to, you'll have to help me out because we've got the other ones that we're mailing there, right? So.
David has his already, but I have Jim and Miriam's here.
So David, Jim's like, I'm ready. Okay, I'll do this last one in front of me. But, so Gene Wooten, 11 years of service, so thank you so much. And we have Jim at 2 years, if I remember correctly, from signing it, right? So thank you, Jim.
Miriam is 5 years.
Miriam is 5. And now you have to help me, yeah. So this is incredible, and we should check this with OSBA. But I'm not sure that there is another individual in the state of Oregon that would have a certificate like this, or maybe there has been at some point. But David is at 40 years of service. Right? Do we have that right, David? I think so. Oh, you're muted, David.
You're muted, David.
This is can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, I was saying that when I first ran for the school board, I never thought I'd be as rewarded from just meeting such interesting people. Just, you fellow board members and the incredible staff that we have at LBL. It's just that's one of the benefits that I think is really the greatest, is just meeting such wonderful people, smart, intelligent, good, kind, all those things.
Thank you, David, and thank you. The amount of service that you've given, the hours, and what impact that you've had on so many children over the years, it's hard for me to even imagine. So, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Nicely done.
Yes, thank you all.
So, we have a gift for you from the agency. It's going to have a little bit of a latent gift, so you can try these on before you leave today, and David and Jim will make sure that you get a chance to check. But we have puffy vests that will have the LBL logo for you on it, but we want to make sure, so it's like this logo like this, but we want to make sure that we get you the right size, and then Nathan will get them embroidered for you.
Get 3 different sizes, so if we lose this game.
That's so great. I think that would be great, it's like future-proofing, right? Yeah. So that's
Thank you.
it. So before you leave, and then Jim and David, we'll make sure that when we see you in person next, Jim's got it in there, that'd be a small, and then David, we can talk to you, or we can have you try one on, we'll bring them out to the coast. So.
Great, sounds good.
That's excellent. Well, that's all I had, so thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, and it's a great board we've got, and it's a really great staff, and it's a pleasure to work with everyone. You look forward to going to a meeting.
Right on.
Okay, so
Totally agree.
we're down at the end of this for there, so dates of importance. So Monday through Tuesday, February 3rd and 4th, at 8, it will be at the retreat in Newport. I'm not going to fulfill that. Wednesday, the 19th, is our financial LBL meeting with Amy, David, and Jim. And on Wednesday, February 19th, is our regular board meeting, 6 to 8, right here in this room. Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, 4:30 to 5:30 is capital improvement meeting with Michael, Roger, and I. We might let Jason come.
That's right, that's good.
Wednesday, March 12th, is 6 to 8 is the regular board meeting. Saturday through Monday, March 29th to the 31st, 8:30 to 3:30 is NSBA conference.
I don't think we have anyone going, so you can just ignore that one.
Oh,
That was
that's
just
an
a,
interesting time. Anyway, Wednesday, April 16th, 4:30 to 5:30, communications outreach meeting, and that's Michael, Miro, and I. And then on Wednesday, April 16th, 6 to 8 is a regular board meeting. Any future agenda or items or anything else? If not, we're adjourned.
thank you very much.
I'll see y'all in a few
Thank you,
weeks at
Jim.
the retreat.
Yes, see you.